What's going on, y'all? Today we checking out New Orleans. And to be specific, we checking out dishes that was created, born, and bred in New Orleans. New Orleans taste, y'all. But anyway, as always, let's get it.
1. Gumbo. Gumbo is the unofficial state dish of Louisiana. It is a thick, smoky stew served over rice, as essential to New Orleans as jazz or Mardi Gras. But gumbo isn't one thing. It's a negotiation between continents. The word itself comes from Kingombo, the Bantu word for okra, carried to Louisiana by enslaved West African people in the 1700s. The French contributed the roux, that patient, slow-cooked butter and flour base. The Choctaw Nation brought filet powder, dried sassafras leaves, to thicken and flavor the pot. Here's the fact that stops people cold. There is no single definitive gumbo recipe. Louisianans have been
So yeah, my mama and my grandmother and my auntie all made some beautiful gumbos. Well, really not my mama, more my auntie and my grandma. But yeah, I love gumbo. You know, I got two aunties that make it two different ways. One is more roux based, the other one is more tomato based. Hey, you can have that argument all day. But the truth is, they all tasty. So it really don't matter. And also, to me, gumbo, Louisiana, yeah, they are synonymous. But I think I'm a po' boy man more than that gumbo man. But anyway, let's get back to it, y'all. Let's get back to it.
and they are not close to stopping. Gumbo isn't just a dish. It's a living document of every hand that shaped Louisiana, and proof that the most complex flavors come from the most complex histories. Food number 2, jambalaya. Jambalaya is one of the most recognized rice dishes in the entire world. A bold, spiced, deeply savory one-pot meal that feels like a party in every bite. Its origins are a cultural collision. Spanish settlers in Louisiana tried to recreate paella, but couldn't find saffron in the bayou, so they improvised with tomatoes, local sausage, and whatever the land gave them. The dish absorbed West African rice cooking traditions and Creole seasoning and became something entirely its own. By the 1800s, jambalaya was feeding laborers, festival crowds, and riverboat crews up and down the Mississippi. The surprising twist: there are two completely distinct versions that Louisianans treat as almost separate dishes. Creole jambalaya, made with tomatoes and associated with New Orleans, and Cajun jambalaya, made without tomatoes and cooked until the rice gets a smoky brown crust at the bottom of the pot. That scorched bottom isn't a mistake, it's the goal. Jambalaya is what happens when scarcity meets ingenuity. When you can't have the original, you build.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, that jambalaya is good. I love me a little jambalaya. I ain't gonna lie. But here's the problem with jambalaya, in my opinion. And you know I got some people from Louisiana that are subscribed to my channel. And this is the only thing that I'm saying. Nowadays, jambalaya is more of a side dish, in my opinion. Just like dirty rice. It just is what it is. Even though it's tasty, we rarely ever had jambalaya as, the only thing that we eat, like gumbo. But it's good. It's good. It's real good. Especially if you like rice, and I'm a rice fiend. But anyway, let's get back to it, y'all. Let's get back to it.
Hey, few foods in America carry the weight of a single city the way the beignet carries New Orleans. A pillowy, deep-fried square of dough buried under a snowfall of powdered sugar. French colonists brought the beignet to Louisiana in the 18th century, and by 1862, Café du Monde had opened on the edge of Jackson Square, serving beignets and café au lait around the clock. It has never closed, not for hurricanes, not for wars, in over 160 years. What most people don't know The beignet was officially declared the state donut of Louisiana in 1986. Not the state pastry, the state donut. Louisiana is the only state in America with an official donut, and the choice tells you everything you need to know about how seriously this city takes its food.
And you're so right. Ain't nothing wrong with a fresh beignet. But you want them fresh. You want them fresh, for real. It changes after they cool down. They just not as good. Man, I love beignet, but you gotta get them fresh, y'all. Gotta get them fresh. But anyway, let's get back to it, y'all. Let's get back to it.
Étouffée. Étouffée, which means smothered in French, is one of the most quietly elegant dishes in Louisiana's culinary canon. Tender crawfish, bathed in a silky butter and vegetable sauce, piled over white rice. The dish traces its roots to Breaux Bridge, Louisiana, the self-proclaimed crawfish capital of the world, in the early 20th century. Cajun home cooks had long been simmering crawfish in butter with onion and celery, but the dish didn't enter public consciousness until the 1950s, when the Hebert family began serving it at their restaurant and word quietly spread. Here's what catches people off guard. Crawfish étouffée only works because of Louisiana's peculiar geography. The state produces over 100 million pounds of crawfish per year, roughly 90% of the entire U.S. supply. Without Louisiana's warm, shallow swamplands and flooded rice paddies, étouffée as a dish would simply not exist.
Look here, this is definitely one of the dishes that I want to make on the channel. Egg étouffée. I love me some crawfish egg étouffée. It's just so hard to get crawfish in St. Louis. Now I guess I could do the shrimp version, but the crawfish version is just so much better. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Hit me in the comments. Let me know. Should I go ahead and do the shrimp version, or should I try to just get some crawfish? But anyway, let's get back to it, y'all. Let's get back to it.
5. Bananas Foster. Most foods are born from necessity or tradition. Bananas Foster was born from a business problem, and it became one of the most theatrical desserts in the world. In the early 1950s, New Orleans was the largest banana importing port in the United States. The city was flooded with the fruit, and restaurateur Owen Brennan challenged his chef, Paul Blanger, to create a dish that used them. In 1951, at Brennan's restaurant on Royal Street, Blanger developed a recipe of bananas sautéed in butter, brown sugar, cinnamon, and banana liqueur, then flambéed tableside with dark rum. He named it after Richard Foster, a city official and loyal customer.
Now, as far as Banana Foster, hey, it is what it is. Do I like Banana Foster? Yes, I do. It is a tasty dish, but it's just not one of my favorites, y'all. Hey, ain't nothing wrong with it. You know, I do like bananas, but just ain't my favorite. Ain't something I would, pay a lot of money at a restaurant for. That's all. But anyway, let's get back to it, y'all. Let's get back to it.
6. Muffaletta. The muffaletta is not a dainty sandwich. It's a round sesame-seeded loaf the size of a hubcap, split and loaded with Italian cold cuts, provolone, and a salty, briny olive salad that soaks into the bread as it rests. Sicilian immigrants poured into New Orleans in the late 19th century, settling in the French Quarter and bringing their culinary traditions with them. In 1906, Salvatore Lupo, owner of Central Grocery on Decatur Street, noticed workers buying ingredients separately: bread, meat, cheese, olives, and struggling to eat standing up. He combined everything into one massive round sandwich, and the muffaletta was born.
I ain't gonna lie, that muffaletta is a good sandwich, y'all. But it can't be as iconic as they try to make it out to be, in my opinion, because it's still just a cold cut sandwich when you get done with it with some olives on it. But it is real tasty, y'all, and I do love it. But anyway, let's get back to it.
Red beans and rice. Red beans and rice is the most honest dish in Louisiana. The one that has fed the most people, asked for the least, and given back the most. The tradition of cooking red beans on Monday is rooted in practicality. Monday was laundry day, and the beans could simmer unattended for hours while women worked the wash. The smoked pork bones and andouille sausage thrown in were usually the leftovers from Sunday's dinner. Haitian immigrants arriving in New Orleans after the 1791 revolution are widely credited with deepening the culture of red beans and rice in the city, bringing their own traditions of rice and legumes as the backbone of daily meals. The detail that hits hardest: Louis Armstrong, born and raised in New Orleans, loved red beans and rice so much that he signed his personal letters, "Red beans and ricely yours." He ate it nearly every week of his life. When a musician that important loves a dish that deeply, it stops being food and starts being identity. Red beans and rice is the dish that tells you the truth about a place, not the tourist version, not.
And yes, he's so correct about those red beans and rice. They was definitely a Monday everyday thing. But them red beans right there, they ain't the ones. They ain't the ones. You want camellia red beans. You can tell those ain't right because they ain't big enough. You want the bigger red beans. Those are the Louisiana red beans that you want. You're not going to get the same flavor. You're not going to get the same creaminess. And I know that everybody from Louisiana would agree with me on that. But, you know, you still going to add that good ham hock. You're going to add that good andouille sausage. And it's going to be really tasty, y'all. I still eat it today. I got to get my camellia beans from Amazon. But that's all right. But anyway, let's get back to it, y'all. Let's get back to it.
Praline. The praline is Louisiana's most beloved candy. A flat, sweet, slightly crumbly disc of caramelized sugar and pecans that melts against your tongue and stops every conversation it enters. The praline began in France, named for César du Plessis-Praslin, a 17th century French diplomat whose chef invented the original confection using almonds. But when the recipe arrived in Louisiana, almonds gave way to the native pecan tree, a nut that grew wild along the bayous and riverbanks, and cream replaced water in the sugar mixture. The result was something richer, darker, and more complex than anything the French original had been. What makes this story remarkable? The transformation was almost entirely the work of free black women in New Orleans known as pralinières, who sold the candies from baskets and trays on the streets of the French Quarter throughout the 18th and 19th centuries. They didn't just adapt the recipe, they built the market for it, turning a French court confection into a street food institution.
Oh yeah, one of the best candies that I enjoyed my whole time in Louisiana. I used to look forward to it, y'all. My auntie, she had trees, and oh my goodness, every year my uncle and my auntie used to hook these candies up, and man, it was something to look forward to, y'all, because hey, the kids would eat it up, I would eat it up, and we might even fight over it, but hey, they was tasty. But anyway, let's get back to it, y'all. Let's get back to it.
Boy. The po' boy is Louisiana's answer to the sandwich, but to call it just a sandwich is like calling jazz just music. The origin story is one of solidarity. In 1929, New Orleans streetcar workers went on strike. Brothers Benny and Clovis Martin, who ran a small sandwich shop in the French Quarter, promised to feed the strikers for free. They stuffed long loaves of French bread, baked by the Leidenheimer Baking Company, whose airy, crisp-crusted loaves are still used today, with roast beef and gravy, and served them without charge. Every time a new striker walked in, a worker behind the counter would call out, "Here comes another po' boy." The detail that most people miss: the bread is the secret. Louisiana French bread is uniquely light and crisp because of the local humidity and the specific fermentation methods developed in New Orleans. Bread made anywhere else doesn't compress and shatter the same way.
And oh yeah, we didn't reach the po' boy. That po' boy, y'all. I love a po' boy. Now, a lot of people like to talk about the shrimp po' boy, the oyster po' boy. But I tell you, even though I love both of those, the best one is that roast beef po' boy. You can't really beat it. is so tender and juicy, and that gravy that comes on it. Oh my God. So if you're ever in New Orleans, I definitely want you to get the po' boy. I want you to get all three, but make sure you get that roast beef. But anyway, let's get back to it.
King cake. King cake is not just a dessert, it is a ritual, a calendar, and a dare, all baked into one ring of sweet dough. The tradition arrived in Louisiana with French and Spanish Catholic settlers in the 18th century, tied to the Epiphany celebration on January 6th, the Feast of the Three Kings, and the beginning of the carnival season that runs through Mardi Gras. The ring shape represents the crown of the three kings. Hidden inside every cake is a tiny plastic baby. Whoever finds it is named king or queen of the next celebration and is obligated to buy the next cake. The extraordinary scale of this tradition, bakeries across New Orleans produce an estimated 750,000 king cakes every single carnival season. The baby hiding custom has roots in medieval European tradition, but the specific colors, purple for justice, gold for power, green for faith, are a New Orleans invention codified in the...
So we finished this on my least favorite item. Don't get me wrong. Ain't nothing wrong with a king cake. King cake actually is pretty tasty. It's something like a cinnamon roll kicked up. But, you know, you got to watch out for that baby. You say that the king was the person that got the baby. No, king was the person that had to buy the next king cake. So when we used to do it at work, people used to try to cut little thin slivers so they didn't get that baby, so they wouldn't have to buy the king cake. Just a little joke. But anyway, I enjoyed reminiscing with y'all. I really did. But as always, love, peace, and keep it grilling, y'all. See ya.